People are making laws to fine, ticket, and arrest people for sleeping outside. What do you think about that?
That would make basically me, a house mom who doesn't really get in trouble for anything, a criminal. Due to my unfortunate circumstances, you're going to make me a criminal and you're going to give me tickets that I know I have no money to pay, and therefore there'll be a warrant out for my arrest, which would eventually lead to jail time. They're not addressing the true issue. And we've got a serious problem all across the United States, not just here in Boise. And that's not helping the situation. It's actually hindering. You're giving tickets to people that can't afford to pay rent and can't afford to eat. How do you expect them to pay these tickets? And then you're taking away the very barrier that they need to stay warm in the winter. I don't understand where we lost our humanity. I couldn't take away a sleeping bag and a tent of a person who had nothing left in this world. I don't quite comprehend the logic, but that's where I am.
Give us a home. How about that? How about just giving people that need a home inside? Then we'd be inside. You just want to just throw us to the rats. I don't want to be homeless. I don't want to crowd anyone. I don't want to use anyone. I just want to be in a place to live. You never know why a person is homeless. I was homeless, rendered homeless, for sure, because my house was caught on fire.
Wagwan kings and queens from Africa and across the ocean, welcome back to my YouTube commentary. And before we go deep, let me say this. I appreciate each and every single one of you that tunes in, that shares, comments, and keeping this message alive. Without you, this platform will not have the power it has today, because we are building something together. Right now, we have seen Black Americans are coming to Africa. They are coming to Kenya. Caribbeans are coming to Africa. And they are not just visiting as tourists. They are coming to make a change here. I appreciate, and I will say this, the message is reaching home. Now, you have all listened about the Trump administration that has been moving forward with policies targeting homelessness, especially in Washington, D.C. Reports show that the government is considering forcing homeless people to pay fine. If they don't follow what he or the administration want, they have to pay fine or face jail time if they refuse to move into shelters and participate in programs. That's what is happening. And I came to fuse this with what Black people are going through back then. There was a policy that was telling that if you are unemployed, you are going to jail or you pay fine. I don't know if I'm right with that. That's on history. And that was to force Black people to take even the awkward jobs. It was like they wanted to exploit them. The only thing they did to push Black people or or the immigrants to work with on their farms, to take the odd jobs, is to tell them if you are unemployed, you'll be jailed. Before I go down into that, my thinking, let's watch these videos and then we come back.
President Trump, homelessness is not a crime. Not here in Connecticut and not in America. These folks need help, not handcuffs. These folks need housing, not handcuffs.
What President Trump wants to do essentially is a war on the homeless. He wants to criminalize homelessness. We're facing a perfect storm. Tariffs are going to increase prices of home construction materials, timber, steel, aluminum, home furnishing. They are all rising by 10, 20, 30%. This perfect storm is not insurmountable.
Basically, homelessness is a housing problem. We've got to make sure that Section 8 certificates, which is the workhorse for getting people into safe, decent housing circumstances, which will solve the problem in a more fundamental way.
You can't jack up that rent overnight. You're going to have to do that with limitation. That's a bill that we tried to get through the legislature last time, want to get through the legislature this time.
This isn't a Democrat, Republican, or unaffiliated issue. This is a people's issue. We stand with you and will continue to work with you.
When I think about the homeless, I think about folks who are neighbors, folks that are trying to get a helping hand, folks that want folks to look out for them just like we want people to look out for our family if they were in need. Connecticut is a different place, and we look out for each other. We're all neighbors. We're all God's children.
Homeless individuals will be given the option to leave their encampment, to be taken to a homeless shelter, to be offered addiction or mental health services, and if they refuse, they will be susceptible to fines or to jail time.
So now we are forcing people to get mental health treatment, and we're telling them you can go to a homeless shelter which do not have beds, because people are often camping outside homeless shelters. Homeless shelters fill up. There's no beds. We don't have enough spaces in hospitals. So like, where are people going? Right now, they're going to be fined when they can't even afford to have a home, but they're not going to be able to pay it. So they're going to be putting them in jail. So everyone has asked what's going to happen if, we're forcing mental health treatment on homeless people. Here we are. If you don't agree, you're going to jail. We're not even going to institutionalize you. We're just going to put you in jail. They're going to start going after vulnerable groups of people. This is the bottom of society, right? So like, most people don't give a fuck about homeless people. They're considered an inconvenience to a lot of people. And because of that, this is the easy group to go at. Next, it's going to be people who do drugs or criminals, right? Illegals. And then we move into other groups of people, which it looks like moving into LGBTQ and trans people and going from there. So this is the start of some fucked up shit. If you do not see it as fucked up that there are people who are living on the street because of God knows what situation, and they are being forced to get treatment. We don't even know if they're already getting treatment, but they're getting forced to get treatment. And like, if they already have a provider, then what? They still have to get off the street, and like, they're going to tell the police like, hey, I have a psychiatric provider. And they're going to be like, no, you don't. Like, you're arrested. Like, what? And there's no beds in homeless shelters. Again, where are they putting people? They're going to disappear them in prisons. This is not okay. As a mental health provider, not okay.
In light of what's happening in Washington, D.C., I thought it was time to tell this history story once again. Now, most folks have heard that Australia was once a prison colony, but what's not such common knowledge is that most of these so-called prisoners were not criminals. Rather, the vast majority were only guilty of being poor. To say that the laws of 17 and 1800s England were draconian would be a grand understatement. Under what was known as the Bloody Code, even such mild offenses such as cutting down a tree or poaching a rabbit carried a death sentence. Very few who committed one of these 222 Bloody Code death sentence crimes were ever sent to Australia or even spent any meaningful amount of time in prison. Execution was swift to make space for the next British subject that needed to die. Those who were shipped to prison colonies were most often guilty of nothing more than being homeless. It should come as no surprise that these actions and events stemmed from the economy and had little or even nothing to do with actual criminal or immoral behavior. While this era of English history was best known for its imperial expansion and that corresponding wealth, abject poverty abounded at home. While the ruling class became filthy rich off the backs of slaves, both literal and figurative, in foreign lands, and borrowed the nation under a mountain of toxic debt, the average guy was starving. The Industrial Revolution had created massive employment on one hand, but it also had pulled people away from their age-old sustainable lifestyles. Industrial jobs didn't pay as well as they were promised, and the peasantry had not accounted for the higher cost of living that accompanies city living. But there was another key element at work that greatly inflated poverty. Even hundreds of years ago, the wealthy recognized that it was more profitable to use slave labor, both literal and figurative, on foreign soil than to employ the people at home. The end result was the nation struggling with poverty and homelessness, especially in its largest cities. Similar today, there were two rival political factions warring over how to solve this crisis. The left wing of the day favored the creation of social programs, while the ruling class, which was comprised largely of the right-wing individuals, they proposed a less gentle alternative. An alternative that, rather than costing them, could be profited by. The right wing declared these people to be far more than just poor, but rather socially irredeemable, a perpetual burden to society. And while the majority didn't hurt anyone, they were called a breeding ground for criminals, lazy, irresponsible, prone to bad behaviors of drugs and alcohol, sexual promiscuity, and general indecency. So for the betterment of productive society and good law-abiding citizens, these lesser people were incarcerated by the tens of thousands, a rate of imprisonment that had never been done before in human history. Not only did this serve to clean up the streets, it also gave the illusion of a better economy by hiding that lowest rung and creating a thriving industry centered around the criminalization of poverty and its incarceration. For the middle and upper classes, they saw only benefits from rounding up the poor, convicting of them some petty nonviolent crime, and sending them off to prison, shipped off to Australia. The reduction in the lower class population made them feel safer, even if there was little or no change in the rate of serious crime. While there's always been a connection between crime and poverty, when it comes to the most serious crimes, such as child molestation or human trafficking, that income element begins to blur or even disappear altogether. Nothing illustrates this more clearly than the fact that white-collar criminals today steal many times that of blue-collar criminals, yet receive on average 1/10 of the prison sentence. Often these middle or upper-class criminals won't even be prosecuted. Over the last years and decades, we have heard many of our nation's best-known prosecutors say that by giving the maximum sentence to minor offenses, we would see an overall reduction in crime. By locking up a man for a busted headlight and a bit of pot, we would prevent the next mass shooting or some other horrific event. Even though the facts have not proven this to be true, that preconception is still on the forefront of our legal system. I'd caution anyone to get hung up on a single subject such as marijuana. There are literally thousands or tens of thousands of laws that adversely affect the poor at a disproportionate rate to the middle or upper classes, such as vehicle registrations or emissions testing. The poorest 25% of Americans, for those people, those small bills are a notable percentage of their annual income. In many respects, America today is reflecting England of over 200 years ago, the criminalization of poverty. America incarcerates more people than any other nation on this planet, and by a very wide margin. Rather than eradicating crime, we have also created an industry centered around the cycle of incarceration, and the players and motivation are eerily similar. We see this being carried out today in Washington, D.C.
Homeless individuals will be given the option to leave their encampment, to be taken to a homeless shelter, to be offered addiction or mental health services, and if they refuse, they will be susceptible to fines or to jail time. Again, these are pre-existing laws that are already on the books. They have not been enforced, which is part of the reason for this federalizing of the National Guard, to bring in this assistance for law enforcement. While we are targeting criminals and trying to remove criminals off of the streets, we also want to make DC safe and beautiful, and that involves removing mentally disturbed individuals in homeless encampments as well.
This right here, like I've stated, you guys, is an attack on the homeless and those who are mentally disabled here in the United States of America. So once more, you guys, I beg you, go read the bill. There is a lot that is attached to this bill.
So here's the thing, you guys. I ended up doing a whole video about this executive order last month. And there were so many people in the comments talking about how, no, our government wouldn't do this to homeless people. Obviously, that's not the case anymore. And here's the thing, you guys. What people need to understand is what Caroline Leavitt is not talking about. She's talking about people refusing, right? People refusing to move, people refusing to leave, people refusing treatment. What she is not talking about, because inside this executive order, it indicates if there is not a bed available for you in a mental hospital, they can put you in jail and or prison, no matter what. Also, you guys, what she is not talking about, inside this executive order, it indicates even if you have to wait 18 months, 36 months, 100 months for a bed to become available for a mental hospital, they can leave you in prison. You're not a criminal, but you can go to prison for being homeless in America. Let me know your thoughts right over this way, you guys, because as I said, I did a video last month, a full breakdown of this executive order when it comes down to this topic. So scroll through, you'll see this. Hopefully I'll be able to put a link in here for the actual executive order. But if not, scroll through. You'll see this little photo over here, and you'll be able to watch that video. Thanks.
For politicians who are seeking to criminalize poverty, right? Because that's what happens when you tell poor people, particularly poor and unhoused people, that if they do not remove themselves from the streets, that you are going to arrest them. That is criminalizing them, because there is nowhere for them to go. And unless you are providing them an alternative, a safe alternative, an affordable alternative, you are criminalizing something that they cannot help. And when you do these neighborhood sweeps, picking up their belongings, things that they took years, decades to collect, everything from birth certificates, medicine, to IDs, to family keepsakes, you are destroying their lives, and you are setting them back months, if not years, that would enable for them to get the proper paperwork to be able to remove themselves out of poverty. And this is happening in blue and red states. Criminalizing poverty does not stop poverty. Criminalizing homelessness does not stop homelessness. We are dealing in a time where there is more than 700,000 Americans who are living on the street every single year not because they want to, not for fundies, because they cannot find a safe and affordable place to lay their heads, oftentimes that is going to protect themselves and their children. Poverty is a choice in this country. Homelessness is a choice in this country, and the choice does not lie with those who are suffering. It lies with the government, who continues to pat the pockets of the wealthy instead of giving resources to those who are most in need.
Welcome back. Now, think for a second. A person with no money, a person with no resources, no stable housing, being told that they must pay fine or being locked up. This is not just about law and order. This is criminalizing poverty. And for those who think this is new, no. Let me tell you, it is not new at all. When I started, I told you about the history back then of black people. It is not new. This is history repeating itself. Now, the historical link between what is happening right now of homeless law is the black unemployment law. When we go back to history, after slavery ended in America, the system didn't truly free black people. They created these awkward laws. And this law, for example, was like, if you are a black person and you didn't have a job, or you are simply standing around without proof of an employment, the police could arrest you. Unemployment was a crime if you are black back then. And what happened after arrest? What happened after arrest is that you'll be fined, fines that no freed slave could pay, because you are a slave, you don't have a job. Where are you going to pay? Where are you going to get the money to pay? And if you couldn't pay, you go straight to jail. And once you are in jail, you become part of the convict leasing system. And this meant that you were leased out to plantations, to railroads, mines, working for free or nearly free. It was slavery under a new name. And that's why I was linking this report with this one. I don't know if we agree each other. I see the connection. Do you see the connection there? Back then, black people were criminalized for being unemployment. But now, homeless people are criminalized for being unhoused. The language changes, the law changes, the time changes, but the system stays the same. Poverty becomes a crime, struggling becomes a crime, and the punishment is jail, fines, false labor, or being pushed deeper into despair. And this is why I always say slavery never ended, it just evolved. It just evolved. When they jailed black people for vagrancy, they claimed it was about keeping communities safe, stopping loitering, and pushing productivity. Now when they target homeless people, they say it's about cleaning the streets, reducing crime, and encouraging responsibility. But look here deeper. Let's put our minds straight and look here deeper. Both excuses are about control and exploitation. The system can't profit from a person who is free. The system can't benefit from a person who is independent. But once they are in the system, once the people are fined, once the people are jailed or controlled, they become another body fueling that machine. The machine is the system. And let me tell you, black people in America knows this pattern. They know this pattern better than anyone else because it started with them. It started with the FBS. It started with the black Americans for centuries. Our people were told that if you are not working for white wealth, you are a criminal. If you are not controlled by the system, you are dangerous. Today, the same mindset is being applied to the homeless, many of whom are also black. Because, let's not forget, homelessness in America affects most black people. If I'm not wrong, please, I stand a chance to be rectified on the comment section. But I think homelessness, according to the records, that it affects more of black people. And you know why. When these policies are pushed, we know exactly, personally, I think I know exactly who will feel the weight first and the hardest. This is not just about America. Around the world, we see similar patterns. In Africa, colonizers created taxes that forced Africans to leave their farms and work in mines. If they couldn't pay the tax, they were jailed. In Europe today, migrants are fined or jailed simply existing without documents. In America, homelessness is becoming the next crime. Some of these policies are not just policies. It's happening around the world. It's happening in Africa. This thread is clear. Those who don't fit nearly into the economic system are being punished. Let me reflect this. What happened when they criminalized black unemployment? It created a pipeline of free labor that rebuilt the South after the Civil War. What happened when they criminalized black unemployment? White wealth grew while black people were trapped in a circle of arrest, fines, and forced labor. And what do you think will gonna happen if they criminalize homelessness? It will create a new pipeline or a new prison pipeline, more arrest, more incarceration, more privatized prison profits. History is not repeating by accident. History is repeating by design. All these things are here by design. And this is why I always call for awareness, because they want us to see these policies as separate events. They want us to think homelessness has nothing to do with black history. But when you connect the dots, you realize that the same playbook is being used. The same people benefit. The same communities suffer. And if we don't expose it, if we don't talk about it, they will keep running the same game. You just think of the policies they have tried to put out here to regulate black people, but black people are not falling for the bait. So if they go further to this homelessness, that means that they think black people will not know this. But that's why we are here to talk about this. That's why I've been thinking so hard. Why are they criminalizing homelessness? Why are they telling homeless people to pay fines? Why do they want to arrest homeless people? Just give them a house. Give them a house. And I came to realize a lot of black people, the number of homeless people is black people. And right now, immigrants are not in the country. So they want people to work on the farms. They want people to work on the cotton farms. They want people to work for them cheaply. What do? Let's criminalize this homeless so that they will come and work for us. That's my thinking. Family, I think this is where connection becomes crystal clear. The criminalization of poverty, both systems, whether the old vagrancy laws targeting black people after slavery or the proposed fines and jail time for homeless people today, this is about one thing, and this thing is criminalizing poverty. Think about it. When you punish someone for being poor, you are not solving the problem. When you punish someone for being poor, you are not helping them to get a job. You are not helping them to get housing or opportunities. You are simply making their situation worse and ensuring they remain trapped in a circle of poverty. In the past, black people were jailed for unemployment, then forced into labor camps, then forced into plantations and chain gangs. Today, if homelessness, people are fined or jailed, they will come out with even more debt, even more barriers, even less chance of surviving in a system already stacked against them. And this is not about justice. This is about control. When I talk about this topic, some saying that why don't you talk about what's happening in Kenya? I'm talking about black people global, and it is touching even in Africa. And that's why I even give example of Africa in between. In the past, black people were jailed for unemployment. Right now, people want to jail on homelessness. There is something weird going on. Because, let me ask you this real question. Who benefits when poor people are criminalized? Back then, it was the plantation owners, corporations, and white elites who needed cheap labor. They profited off the forced work of black people who were arrested for vagrancy. And today, the ones who benefit when homeless people are jailed is private prisons, police department, cities that want to clean up downtown areas for tourists and investors, real estate developers who don't want the homelessness seen in their neighborhoods. The poor are sacrificed so that the wealthy can stay comfortable, and that is the truth. And if we don't speak up, next is on your doors. Like, you are black. From this neighborhood, we don't need black people. You see? Family, this is a pattern of social control. Let's keep building. Because when we zoom and connect the dots here, it becomes clear that this isn't just about Trump or just about all the laws from Reconstruction. It's about consistent pattern of social control over black and poor people. The system used poverty as a weapon. Think about it. During slavery, you couldn't escape labor. Your body itself was property. During Reconstruction, when black people wanted freedom and independence, vagrancy laws criminalized that very freedom, pushing them back into labor camps and chain gangs. During Jim Crow, segregation and racial terror kept black communities trapped in circle of poverty and fear. And today we see mass incarceration, cash bail, and criminalizing homelessness as ways of to keep marginalized people under control. So this is what some call the new Jim Crow law. New Jim Crow, it's not chains on the wrist anymore, but it's fines, it's arrest, prison record that makes it impossible to get housing or a job. The cycle continues because poverty itself has been criminalized. And notice something powerful here. Whenever black people rise, whenever poor people rise, the system invents new laws to push them back down. The system does not want, or it doesn't always come with the label of racist law anymore, but the impact falls on the same communities. And that's why Trump's idea of criminalizing homelessness is so dangerous. Because of what? Because we have seen this movie before. Black people have seen this movie before. And poor people, whether you are poor white people, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. So, history is not just about the past. History is a mirror for the present. When we study the black codes, vagrancy laws, and Jim Crow, we realize that nothing Trump is saying is new. The system has always disguised oppression under the excuse of law and order. So the lesson for us today is clear. Freedom without economic power is fragile. When black people had freedom but no land, no wealth, no protection, they were vulnerable to laws designed to trap them back into servitude. Poverty is weaponized. The system doesn't just punish poverty. It manufactures it through discrimination in housing, jobs, education, and healthcare. Then it criminalizes it, very poverty it creates. Freedom without economy is fragile, economic power. When black people have freedom but no land, no wealth, no protection, resistance requires unity. Every time black communities fought back through church networks, boycott, self-help programs, Pan-African solidarity, all these civil rights, the system is forced to retreat. And division weakens us, unity terrifies the system. So you choose. Do we have to go with the division or do we have to go with the unity? White America is facing economic decline right now. It's forcing political division and the loss of global dominance. And just like in the 1800s when the elites were scared of free black people thriving, today they are scared of poor people and especially black people demanding dignity. So instead of solving poverty, they use poverty as a scapegoat. So Trump doesn't think about billionaire dodging taxes, corporation exploiting workers, or the government failing veterans. No. What he thinks, he points to the homeless man in the street and say that you are the problem. That is the problem. He need to go to jail, he need to pay fine. It is the same old playbook. It is the same. Blame the poor for the nation's decline, use law and order to crack down, build prisons instead of homes, protect the powerful while punishing the powerless. You are taking these people to jail. That means If there is a billion homeless people or 1 million homeless people, you are going to build more prisons. Why don't you build homes? Why don't you build homes? But good news is that black people have been here before, and black Americans have resisted before. Black people have a long history of outsmarting oppressive system. During slavery, during Reconstruction, during Jim Crow, during mass incarceration, every time the system creates new chains, black people create new keys. And that's why it is so important to study history, because it shows us that resistance works, unity works, and survival is in the DNA of black people. So what we must do is we just must expose the lies. I see this and I thought this is something that's awkward, so I need to talk about it. For the poor, whether homeless, jobless, or struggling, our people need love, solidarity, and company, not jail time. This is what I was just thinking. I don't know if you think the same. What happened back in the history is trying to repeat itself. They are criminalizing poverty. Tell me what you think on the comment section. Until next episode, peace out.